So this video is going to be a little different from my other ones. It's a one-shot featuring some backup characters we created for our main campaign, and I thought it'd be a perfect opportunity to try a new art style. So, let me know what you think. This one-shot doesn't have any major plot to it, we just really wanted to try the backup characters we created, and the DM decided to let us use them as companions for our main campaign, so the main goal for this session was just getting them to the capital first and foremost. A few things I should mention: this all takes place between episodes 1 and 2 of the main story, so you can check those out if you want, but you don't really need to be familiar with them to understand what's going on. However, I will point out that while our main group is chaotic, this group is way more chill. In our main campaign, our PCs are known for being murder hobo-y, and doing things like setting shops on fire for being too expensive, or framing each other for murder, but that was because our group didn't know each other's playstyle, which turns out is super important. I mean, you can't have a super powerful neutral good paladin surrounded by chaotic evil murderers and expect them to get along now, can you? Which is why our new characters were designed to be much better behaved. So let's start our story. Our adventure begins in the town of Crossroads, though it was less of a town and more of an outpost surrounded by fields and farms. Many sorts of people would wander through, from farmers to traders to even your occasional adventurer. Since so many types of people passed through, no one thought twice about a bugbear picking flowers by a stall, or a fire genasi asking strangers random questions on the street. One tabaxi does take notice of the bugbear, though. Curious, she wanders over and asks, "What you doing?" Surprised at being approached first, the bugbear holds up a finger excitedly, turns away for a moment, her hands working rapidly, then turns back around with a woven flower crown she held proudly up. She then gently places it on the tabaxi's head and smiles. "Now we math." So, due to the bugbear's tusks, she has a bit of a lisp, so she may be a bit hard to understand. The two decide to get better acquainted and head to the tavern. As they prepare to order food, a fire genasi suddenly bursts into the tavern and storms over to the nearest table. Climbing up, they call out to the crowd, "Have any of you seen anyone like me?" The entire tavern points at the genasi. "That's not what I meant!" The two obviously take notice and decided that the genasi looked like an interesting person to get to know. They invite the genasi over to their table and introduce themselves. The bugbear introduces herself as Babu, and the tabaxi introduces herself as Kara, which is short for caravan. The genasi takes a moment to think, as though uncertain of their name, before responding, "Call me Finley." So as you can see, we veered away from playing standard humans and delved into the more exotic races for these backup characters. But even though we did kind of look into the actual lore of the races, we still aren't experts, so if you think we're not playing these races according to their actual culture, then just consider this all homebrew, because we ain't following traditions here. Now acquainted, the group sits down to eat, which puzzles the genasi as they're not accustomed to the material plane yet. "What are you doing?" "Eating," Kara answers. "Eating? I'm not familiar with that. Is this some sort of tradition you do here on the material plane?" Kara and Babu look at each other, then go into a long-winded explanation on how to eat food. So far, I've introduced 3 people, and have failed to mention that Kara, the tabaxi, is actually a new 4th member who just joined the group around this time. This means that the last member to be introduced is Alzahar's backup. For those of you who are new to this channel, Alzahar is the Oath of Vengeance paladin in our main campaign. Since we all thought our characters were going to be executed, he created another human with a similar personality to his paladin. As a matter of fact, we often joke that this new character is pretty much Alzahar 2.0, since they're both super serious and grumpy humans, which is why it was so hard to get him introduced to the main group. See, the whole time Babu and Kara were trying to teach Finley how to eat a potato, we were waiting on his character to do something. Eventually he admitted above board that we had to approach him because his character would otherwise be too depressed and angsty to join us. So, near the front of the tavern, sitting at the bar, was a scraggly-looking human slamming down the drinks, his very presence oozing depression. Babu immediately picks up on the depressing atmosphere, and, feeling sorry for the guy, decides to approach him. Sitting beside him, she asks, "Are you all right?" The human grunts. "I'm not in the mood to talk." "Are you sure? Sometimes talking can help." "Just leave me alone." And he lays his head on the table, unwilling to talk anymore. Not willing to give up, the bugbear waves her new friends over, and together they start to badger the man until he finally agrees to sit with them. He introduces himself as Kovash and begins to tell the group what's upsetting him. "My whole family was murdered the other day, and I got framed for the crime. My own town cut off my arm and exiled me. And worse, the real murderer got away. He slams his arm on the table. The only clue I have about the murderer is this dagger. He feebly holds up what looks like an old blade. Kara, the Tabaxi, takes interest as a ghostly woman briefly appears in the reflection of the blade. Once again, cutting in to remind you that the goal of this one-shot is just to get to the capital, not to find this murderer. This player likes to create complex backstories for his characters, even if they're just backups. We might get to it eventually, since he will be making more appearances though. Babu pats the man on his good shoulder, taking note that his right arm is tightly bandaged. She briefly wonders if he somehow magically sewed it back on after it got cut off. Maybe we can help find the murderer, she offers. We can ask the guards around here and see if they saw anyone suspicious in the past day or two. Kovac, uninterested, simply sighs. I guess I don't have anything better to do. So the group heads out and starts asking around for information on suspicious characters. Unfortunately, since so many travelers come and go, no one particularly stands out. However, the guards mentioned they're having problems with cultists attacking caravans on the road to the capital, and have one particular trader planning to head there. That sounds promising! There's a lot more people in the capital. We might find more clues there. Kovac just grunts, which the group decides means yes, and they agree to escort John the cart driver to the capital. Yes, this is the same cart driver that our main party kills in the future. Remember, folks, while all this is happening, the main party is pretending to assassinate a magician on behalf of an undercover duck. If you want to know that story, check out episode 2. Oh, I'm so glad you're here to guard me. I'm heading back to my wife and 9 children. Boy, have I missed them. I'm the main breadwinner, you see, so if anything happened to me, they'd be destitute, and I wouldn't be able to live with myself thinking of them like that. That's why this is my last trip, because I plan to retire from the road and only do short trips from the capital. My kids even suggested painting my horse to attract business. So the group heads out with John. The trip to the capital will take a few days, and since the party wasn't in a hurry, we made sure to stop for camp every night. On the first night, Babu uses her alchemist kit to make some soap and offers to clean Kovac's clothes, since he's essentially a smelly hobo with greasy hair right now. She even gives him all of her starter money so that when they got to the capital, he could get himself a nice new set of clothes. Kara is still intrigued by his dagger, curious about the phantom she saw in it earlier. She asks Kovac if she could have it, but Kovac rejects her. Of course not. It's too important to part with. Kara backs off, but continues to eye the dagger. This is probably the closest she came to robbing the party. One day, as they're traveling, they spot a burning carriage on the road surrounded by robed figures. Babu decides to take the careful route and sneaks off into the bushes to get a better look. Sure enough, the robed figures are the cultists they were warned about. They were standing around the burning cart, chanting ominously and tossing bodies into the flame. Kovac, being a warlock, pulls out a crossbow and begins firing. Finley starts shooting off spells at the enemies, and Kara, being a rogue, comes up from behind and sneak attacks them. Babu then bursts out of the bushes and thrashes 3 of them, because a sneaky Bugbear Monk with 10-foot reach and multi-attack is ridiculous like that. We encounter a few more cultists along the road and find that each of them are carrying a medallion of some sort. We gather them to turn in at the capital as evidence of our hard work, then realize that we should probably have asked at least one cultist what they wanted or what god they were even worshipping. As this realization dawns on us, we come across one particularly crazy cultist standing all alone in the road, foaming at the mouth and screeching into the air. You killed them all! As the carriage approaches him, he turns his attention to us. He starts screeching, repeating the same line over and over again. However, he made no move to attack us, and eventually Finley decides to try to talk to him. Hello? Are you okay?
You killed him!
Babu then sneaks around and decides to grapple the man in case he decides to make a move. It's okay, calm down. She tries rocking the cultist, who just continues with his hysterics. I think he's upset about us killing all the other cultists, Kara points out. Hey, Finley asks, what did you guys want with the people on the road anyways? Kovac eventually has enough and walks up with his crossbow. Let's just put him out of his misery. He's too crazy to answer any questions, and he's responsible for who knows how many deaths on this road as it is. Babu doesn't like the idea of killing a defenseless man. It seemed dishonorable. But at the same time, Kovac had a point. The cultist was a murderer, and a lunatic at that. Eventually, she grapples the man's head and looks away. Kovac shoots the cultist dead between the eyes. When they finally arrive at the capital, they bid John goodbye as he parts ways. Thank you once again for the protection. I owe my life to you a lot. My wife and kids will surely be pleased now that I'm home for good. As they turn towards the capital, they spot a roaring fire spreading in the shopping district. I'm sure that's fine.